What if I told you Bronny James and this year's Finals MVP have a few things in common? Which is ironic because Jaylen Brown was caught saying that Bronny isn't a pro or isn't pro caliber. And despite the criticism he had for Bronny James, Jaylen actually struggled more in his first 3 Summer League games. In 2016, Jaylen Brown started 5 for 26 from the field in his first 3 summer games, whilst Bronny James was 6 for 26 in his first 3. This is just a 1 field goal difference, but it's just important to know when we're talking about the Summer League how little it actually can mean. Unlike Jaylen, Bronny was drafted 58th with a touch of nepotism, and whether you'd want to admit it or not, it's very relevant. Through his struggles, I encourage you to remember that not only was he again the 3rd final pick in the NBA draft, but it's also not like he averaged exciting numbers or even playing time in college. He struggled, he entered the transfer portal, and honestly, his freshman season was a bit of a letdown. Whereas Jaylen averaged over 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists in college. So if Jaylen averages better numbers and performs worse in the Summer League and is drafted top 3 inside the lottery, and Bronny has terrible stats in the Summer League, terrible stats in college, and was the 3rd final pick, not the 3rd first pick, what's the deal with us criticizing him? Well, let's play a game. I'm going to name some NBA players, and you guys tell me if you've heard of them, if you know them, if you've even watched them succeed in the NBA. Now, obviously, everyone's definition of success is different, but let's begin. Chris Livingston, Hugo Besson, Jericho Sims, Paul Reed, Thomas Welsh, Abdel Nader, Jordan McRae, Deshaun Thomas, Ariel Huckporty, and May Oni. Do you know any of those names? And if so, how many? Because those were the last 10 58th picks in the NBA draft. Now, if you are an avid viewer of the NBA, you probably know 3 or 5 of these guys. And if you know 3 to 5 of these guys, you'd know that they're bench warmers on their best nights or great role players when they're feeling spectacular. Paul Reed, B-Ball Paul, obviously had some, decent moments in Philadelphia this last season, and Jericho Sims has been in and out of the G with the Knicks. Other than that, it's pretty hard to tell who has actually gotten minutes. If the goalpost for these guys is to be a bench player or a solid backup, why are we grilling Bronny for struggling early in the Summer League? Need I remind you that Derrick Rose struggled in the Summer League and Michael Beasley was dominating, looking like the front runner for the Rookie of the Year? Well, one of those guys won an MVP and the other one was making podcasts early. The relevance in that is that people talk about struggles, especially in the Summer League, as a Hail Mary to the title. When Bronny James is in question, people need a headline. They need something to talk about. LeBron is in his final year or years, and not having James in the NBA scares the hell out of not only Adam Silver, but the media itself. There's people like Brian Windhorst who have literally made their entire media career off following LeBron James. And you can love him, you can hate him, but LeBron breathing a little bit differently creates a thumbnail. If LeBron stubs his toe, it makes the headlines. So yes, they'll continue to talk about his kin, and the same thing will continue when Bryce gets drafted as well. Bronny has struggled with his shot consistency. He's airballed a couple 3-pointers. His balance on those shots and in traffic has not looked great around the rim. In certain defensive matchups, he's looked great, and other ones he's looked not so great. However, in those air balls and his other shot attempts, he's looked very confident when shooting it, especially from the mid-range. He's played very solid transition defense. There's a lot of good matchups. He's very pesky on the ball. And another thing that his father or someone must have taught him is that he moves very great off the ball. In that 12-point outing, we saw him get a couple gimmies just because he was in the right place at the right time. That's a great quality to have. Even not at the pro level, if you guys have ever went and ran 5s at your local park or the Y or wherever, playing with someone who's always in the right spot is such a great feeling. You'd kind of wish as a prospect Bronny was a few inches bigger so he'd have some wing versatility and just depth versatility as we speak. However, for now, he will be chasing Jrue Holiday and Marcus Smart status pretty much his entire career if he doesn't grow. His floor or comp is someone like Davion Mitchell, Quinn Grimes, someone in that aspect who's 3-and-D and can hopefully shoot the 3, be a little bit of a spark plug off the bench. And finally, I'd like to leave you guys with a thought going back to what I said earlier. If the goalpost for these guys is to be a bench player and a solid backup, then why are we grilling Bronny for struggling? Some of the credit has to go to his father, LeBron James. In 2017, if you guys remember, LeVar Ball and the Ball brothers were taking over the world. And LeVar was heavily, and I mean heavily, criticized, scrutinized, whatever you want to say, for saying that his son was better than Steph Curry, for saying that his son can be an MVP, for saying his son will have the Lakers make the playoffs. Obviously, these were outlandish takes at the time. However, when LeBron says things like certain players should be sorry because, you know, Bronny James is better than them, or that, you know, his son is this and that and the other, he constantly hypes them up to be this instant impact player. The expectation with that is just too high when it's coming from the caliber of LeBron. Like, at least with LeVar Ball, we could separate it like, okay, this guy didn't play professional basketball. He's just gassing up his sons. LeBron James is the second or first, depending on who you ask, greatest basketball player of all time. So if he's going to come out and say, oh, there's this prospect who's not even in the NBA and he'd be dogging you guys, the expectation gets way too high. The truth about Bronny James is he is a G League player to start who will, due to nepotism, receive some playing time during the regular season and some of those regular season games. The best thing for him to do is try to make the most out of every single moment and accept that this is going to be a long process. It's not like he's going to wake up one day and he's going to be an NBA starter. He will have to sit on the bench for a while. If you guys, you know, think of these smaller guards like him, that it took a long time for Derek White to be Derek White, for Terry Rozier to be Terry Rozier, Drew Holiday even. He wasn't an all-star till, you know, wasn't an effective all-star, I should say, until his tenure in the Pelicans after a long time in Philadelphia. So I just encourage you guys to understand that Bronny James is not supposed to be averaging 20 or 30 in the summer league. I mean, he averaged 3 points in college. So when you see LeBron and you think about screaming out or tweeting out that he is trash, I just consider you to limit your expectations. What do you guys think? What do you make of this video? If you made it this far, I appreciate your support as always. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.